My dearest, I hope this letter finds you well, for it bears the weight of weary hearts and the longing of a soul that yearns for home. How I wish I could convey the depth of my exhaustion and the weariness that clings to us like a relentless shadow on this interminable journey. The days have turned into years, and the once hopeful faces of our crew are now marked with lines of fatigue and sorrow. Our venture, which began with dreams of honor and glory, has become a relentless ordeal. Each passing trial, each brush with peril, has edged its toll upon us, both physically and mentally. Our spirits, once buoyed by the promise of returning to our beloved Ithaca, have been eroded by the ceaseless hardships we endure. The encounter with the Cyclops, a creature of monstrous proportions, was a harrowing experience that would forever haunt the memories of our crew. As we stood outside the cave of the Cyclops, our hearts were heavy with trepidation. We watched in disbelief as Odysseus, with a glint of ambition in his eyes, insisted on exploring the unknown and tempting fate. There was a shared sense of dread among us, and we muttered to one another in hushed tones, questioning the wisdom of this reckless endeavor. Some crew members, unable to bear the weight of Odysseus' unyielding determination, made desperate attempts to persuade him to reconsider. However, his thirst for glory was unquenchable, and he pressed on. The worst part was that Odysseus revealed his true identity to the Cyclops, a grave error in judgment. This knowledge, it would later become clear, had far-reaching consequences. The Cyclops, whose name was Polyphemus, cursed Odysseus and prayed to Poseidon for vengeance, informing him of the trespassers who had revealed his true name. Poseidon, the sea god, had now marked Odysseus as his sworn enemy. Little did we know, the repercussions of this moment would continue to haunt us throughout our journey, and that this was merely the beginning of our trials. The Lotus Eaters' Island seemed a paradise bathed in a strange, otherworldly light. But as the crew disembarked and tasted the sweet lotus flowers, we began to lose ourselves. One by one, our resolve dissolved like the morning fog under the rising sun. The drug-like effects of the lotus petals wrapped around our senses, making us forget the very reason we had set out on this perilous journey. It wasn't long before half of our crew had surrendered to the intoxicating oblivion of the Lotus Eaters' enchantment. Those who remained aware and coherent watched helplessly as our comrades lost themselves to the temptation. They couldn't be roused from their stupor, and it was as if they had left this world entirely. It was a heavy loss, a silent tragedy, for their futures were sacrificed at the altar of this wretched paradise. They would never find their way back to Ithaca, forever ensnared by the Lotus's spell. It was with great sorrow that we took leave of the fallen and continued onward towards home. The enchantress Circe was a formidable and dangerous adversary, her beauty masking a malevolence that could rival the gods themselves. As we succumbed to her beguiling spells, I tried to reason with Odysseus, but he was entranced by her charms. My pleas fell on deaf ears, and he was drawn into her clutches, leaving the rest of us in a state of disarray. To maintain our sanity, we clung to the memories of our loved ones and the hope of one day returning home. We reminded one another of the bond that kept us united, even in the face of such adversity. As for the crewmen who fell victim to Circe's enchantment, their fate was dire. They were transformed into swine, their humanity stolen away. It was a chilling sight, and we could do nothing but watch in horror as our comrades were reduced to beasts. It took a great effort and the help of the goddess Athena to reverse Circe's spell, returning our crewmen to their human form. But the scars of that experience would forever mark their spirits. They were restored to human form, but they would never be free men again. The descent into the underworld was the darkest chapter of our journey, and the psychological toll it took on the remaining loyal crewmen was immeasurable. The realm of the dead, with its shadows and echoes of past sorrows, was a place of haunting despair. We were tormented by the sights and sounds of our lost comrades, and it felt as if our souls were being dragged into an abyss of eternal grief. Some among us, unable to bear the weight of their own mortality and the suffering of the dead, lost their resolve. They broke under the strain, their minds shattering like fragile glass. These men, once loyal and brave, became hollow shells, their wits forever lost to the darkness. For those of us who endured, our spirits were heavy with the knowledge that we had ventured beyond the realm of the living. The memory of the underworld would linger in our nightmares, a chilling reminder of the price we paid for Odysseus' relentless pursuit of glory. It was a burden we would carry, one that threatened to consume us as we continued on our seemingly unending odyssey. Throughout it all, I have watched Odysseus chase glory with a fervor that defies the gods and the wisdom of the oracle. His arrogance and ambition have left us battered and broken, and I fear that he remains oblivious to the toll his actions have taken on our crew and himself. As we finally glimpse the shores of what we believe to be Ithaca on the horizon, I find myself praying not for more adventure or fame, but for a simple and uneventful return home. My beloved, I yearn for the day when I can hold you in my arms again, when we can leave behind the burdens of this endless journey and find solace in the embrace of our homeland. You are the light that guides me through these dark days, and it is your love that keeps me going. Until the day we are reunited, know that my heart belongs to you, and that you are my anchor in this tumultuous sea. With all my love, Eurylochus.